everybody. Welcome back into Pritches Get Stitches. We are happy you found us. Excited you're here with us. Ollie, we made it.
We did. Season 2 premiere. That's pretty exciting, I think.
I mean, who really determines the seasons anyways? Because it was like, hey, as I'm putting them into Spotify, it's like, what season? And I'm like, just one. But now we got to put 2.
Yeah, here we are. We took a little bit of a break. So
yes, we did. And it was kind of a nice little vacation from the microphone a little bit. Like, not that I'm like already tired of doing this, but I just, I didn't have to worry about it on a Friday. I've been so busy, and, it's nice to not have to throw one more thing in while I, was busy with football and reffing and volleyball and marching band and all the fun things that happen when you have 4 kids.
Fun is relative, I guess. Fun and time, both relative.
Time, the fall season of sports is definitely a time consuming. Fall season of school, I should say, is time consuming. The only one that really wasn't was Jace. He was low key, but
he was pretty bored a lot this fall. Everybody else was in sports or band, and
most of the time he didn't want to go with us to the events. So he's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'll stay home. I don't want to go see Ava play again."
That's because he wanted to stay home and play his video games. If you weren't here, you couldn't tell him to get off.
That's true. But he would always ask, and I'd always like, you have all your stuff done. Yep. Okay. You're home alone. We're good. So, well, Holly, one thing we haven't really discussed, here we are winging it again because, we have some things written down, but, what's season 2 about? We really haven't even talked about that. I don't even know.
I don't know. And I was thinking, we had that meeting. So you recently hired a social media person because I was doing such a freaking awesome job that I needed an assistant, apparently. So
exactly.
I think I remembered, we had a meeting one day. It was the Sunday after Karen and I got back from the beach. We were actually at a bar. Mm-hmm. I had to leave the bar, leave the beer on the table, go outside and have the meeting.
Was Karen in the meeting with you?
No, she actually sat in the bar and drank. Okay. She wasn't giving that up. And then on the way over today, I was thinking, I think we were supposed to I think we had a due out to give to Taylor, our social media person.
We had to do.
And I don't know that we ever gave her the due out because I was tipsy and didn't take notes like I normally would at a meeting. So Taylor, if we owe you something.
Well, I'm sure we do. She texts us almost like 3 times a week. Like, hey, well, she texts me for my process serving business. She's always said like, hey, when are you going to make that video? Like I hired somebody to do my social media and I'm not doing my part. Like, that's not
good job.
That's not very smart, but it is what it is. So here we are, season 2. We're going to, we had a little bonus episode a few weeks ago with Scarin, and
correct.
Little preview of what's coming up, in the future for us. But I just love coming in and talking and, seeing what we can come up with on a week to week basis that hopefully keeps people interested. I don't know if it does or not.
I don't know either, but I mean, at least keeps, I know of at least like 3 people who stay interested, or 4, because mom and dad, 5, mom and dad, Scarin, Heidi, and Sean. I know on a weekly basis, we at least have those 5 listening. So
yep, that is true. Shout out. And then my neighbor, Alan, he lives in the cul-de-sac across from me. And every time I see him, he says, he says he listens and he loves to listen to us, bounce off of each other and what we're talking about. And he actually did say he's, we put out a social media post, like, what do you want us to talk about season 2? And he, I think, was the only one that said something. So Alan, we will talk about what you requested. Promise.
Well, we need to get our subscribers on this a little bit more. So if you're listening and you listen to this or watch us on YouTube, make sure that we'd like to get some more interaction on our social media. Yes. That way, when you comment, your people will see, that you've commented on it, and hopefully that will drive more people to our page and our channel. So
yeah, so the more you share, the more you say, hey, listen, I just started listening to these guys, whatever. If you like it, say what you like about it, and just share here and there every once in a while, and it definitely helps us out. So yeah, so Alan said that he just wants to know more about the ins and outs of being a referee. So maybe he should become a referee with me, Alan. Just throwing it out there. So he's got a few things in here. So we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to that part. But so Holly, we've had some changes in our life over the last month and a half. We've talked about it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit with Scarin in the bonus episode, but we didn't say what it is. And And I said, well, I guess we're going to have to change. You said this first. And then I clarified today and said, hey, we're going to have to, like, we won't have a what are we eating? But you said, yes, we do. We have one.
We do. So I figure that we can try to do these as long as we can.
Well, I have some stuff you can try. You ain't going to like it.
Well, good. Well, we'll try it as long as I can eat it. But this, we won't tell you yet. We're going to get into it a little bit later in the episode. But based on what we can have, today we are trying, when I bought this is what it was labeled as, an epic beef bar. The fact that it's called a beef bar just makes me want to throw up. That sounds...
Oh, it's probably delicious.
It sounds terrible. So it's made with 100% grass-fed beef, and it's seasoned only with sea salt and pepper.
Oh, wow.
It's got
like
10
jerky?
grams.
Is it like jerky or what?
I mean, I think it's like jerky's younger brother, or it wants to be jerky. Just wait. It's got a really weird texture.
All right.
But it's got 10 grams of protein and 3 grams of total carbs. So I figured it's so bad. And listen, they're pricey as fuck. I paid $35 for a 12 count.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're just splitting one.
Oh, that's fine with me. I could just take a little bite and you can eat the rest later.
You like these.
I probably will.
You probably will. Okay. So here's your half. It's a little greasy, unfortunately. It's not, so you might need that to wipe your fingers. It's not like those.
Sure is greasy, man. Look at this thing.
It's not like the ones the little crackers that we ate with Scarin. So this is called a beef bar.
Hunk of beef. What's the
company? It reminds me Epic.
Oh, Epic. Okay.
I'm not going to lie, and it is a Whole30 approved food, by the way.
Okay.
But I lied. It's also got onion powder and cultured celery powder. You know what it reminds me of, though? Like cold or wet dog food. Like just the look of it.
Smells like beef.
Smells like beef. It does smell good. So I had hope.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. 3.
So, hold on. So my half and your half, that's as big as it came?
Yes, that together is the size of this beef bar. 12 of these, $35.
Jeez. Okay.
Okay. I don't have a friend who works for Amazon who sends me free food, so I had to buy it.
Shout out to Jed. All right.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
It's a hunk of beef right here.
Every time I eat this, I gag.
I actually don't mind it. It is.
The texture doesn't bother you?
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me, there's some things called turkey bites. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like turkey jerky, kind of, and they sell them like at 7-Eleven and they sell them at Walmart. But they're little tiny like cylinders of turkey.
Mm-hmm.
They're called turkey bites, but it's like got a little casing around it, and then on the inside it's like just turkey. And so it's kind of what it reminds me of. Oh, it does kind of remind me of dog food though, like what dog food would be like. I'd buy them. I'd eat them.
I'm eating this box. And I was talking to my old roommate, Elizabeth, the other day. Oh.
I'm glad you put in your old roommate, because when you've talked about Elizabeth before, you always just say my roommate. So it kind of sounds like she lives with you still, but she's your old roommate.
She's my old roommate. Best roommate I ever had. Oh, sorry. But I was telling her how the texture gets me.
Yeah, but textures get you though. Like you always.
Yeah, textures get me. I can't. And so that one, every time I eat it, I thought it was going to be more like jerky when I bought it. So I was like, all right, yes, it's pricey, but it'll be jerky texture.
I mean, it's called a beef bar.
I know.
It is a bar of beef.
Literally a bar of beef.
So speaking of beef,
Well, I didn't finish the story about Elizabeth.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Elizabeth.
So I was talking to my old roommate Elizabeth about him the other day, and I was telling her how every time I eat them, it's like I have to gag it down. And like, it's so hard for me to eat. And she's like, this sounds like survival food. Like, why are you eating that? She's like, what about stir fry? She's like listing all these things I can make that I'm like, oh, okay. Like, honestly, I didn't think about that. I've just been so focused on trying to find stuff that I can't eat that it's like, I didn't think about it. But I was like, plus I usually make dinner with enough for leftovers for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have just a small portion of it for lunch the next day if I do.
Right.
And I didn't have anything, and I hadn't been grocery shopping. I had no meat left in the house. So it was like, all right, I have fruits, vegetables, and beef bars. So I did like an apple.
Did you eat the beef bars? You put it on the plate and eat it with a
Oh,
knife?
I should have. I literally choked it down though. It was like, I don't know if you guys are watching or listening, but if you go and watch the video, I thought I was going to throw up a couple times eating it just now. Just not because it's got bad flavor.
Tastes good. I like
It
it.
tastes good. It's just the texture of it is so hard for me to gag down that I can't order those again. Like I'm going to have to eat, I think I've had two, so three. I have to eat 9 more.
Mm.
And then after that, I can't.
Yeah. So, with kind of how we're eating, I can eat steak and stuff. So I'm like, for breakfast, I've been eating a lot of, like, I haven't cut eggs. Like you cut eggs out. I haven't.
Right.
But I went to the store and I bought some steak, and I was at Aldi, both stores, and they had eye of round steak, which is super cheap. But I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna just, there was like 3 different cuts of it for like $7, and I'm like, perfect.
Mm,
And
that had to have been the worst steak. That's probably why
you
Jace
know,
doesn't like steak right there.
I just cook them up for breakfast, but I use the air fryer. I told you this the other day.
Yeah.
Like, I just air fry the steak. It's like, 4 or 5 minutes on each side, and
Weird.
season them up, and it's actually pretty good. Like, if you get a good, like, I did that with a ribeye one time, or maybe a sirloin, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit thicker. Like, the eye of round is pretty thin. It's maybe like half an inch thick. The other ones were at least an inch thick, and so it just came out perfect. And so we'll have to try that one day, because I know you're like the barbecue queen, and so you're anti
Right.
air fry the steak, but actually it's not bad. I can't complain. But I also cook on the gas grill, which you
Right.
despise as well.
Right. It has to be charcoal.
We cooked some steaks up on the gas grill the other night. I didn't think you were actually going to eat them, but you did.
Listen, we didn't have enough time. It was already 8 o'clock by the time we ate. And I was like, if I get the grill going, everything else, it's going to be 9, 10 o'clock. So
Yeah.
in dire situations like that,
It was good.
it was good. It wasn't bad. So
Well, let's move on, Holly. Let's move on to our fun fact of the day. You've got way longer fun fact than the last time that we were together. The last one was, "Hey,
hey,
Mickey, you're so
so
fine." She died, or she didn't die. She's
No,
still alive.
she
She's
turned 80. Yeah.
But this one's a lot longer.
So this one's a little longer because it's about a topic that is
Near
near
and-
and dear to my heart.
Jinx.
Jinx. Today, so we record usually 10 days before we drop, just so everybody knows. So today we're recording October 20th, and today is World CRISPR Day. And I don't know if our listeners remember. Scott, I think you might have slept through this episode.
It was
This
interesting.
portion of the episode. So CRISPR is one of my all-time favorite things. I think it's an amazing technology that has great implications.
Gene scissors, right?
Gene scissors, correct. So today is World CRISPR Day, and CRISPRs were actually first identified in E. coli in 1987 by a Japanese doctor and his team of scientists. However, because they didn't know what they were doing or what they were looking for, they didn't do anything with that data. They knew that it was replicating. They knew there was going to be some scientific implications down the line. They just didn't know what to do with it. So they held on to that data. And over the years, other people did stuff with that data, did stuff with the study based on the study that they had done. They created new studies. And there was finally a substantial breakthrough in the world of CRISPR in 2015 when 4 scientist researchers harnessed the power of CRISPR-Cas9 to alter targeted regions of genomes. And essentially just meaning that they were able to use this gene scissors. I see you looking confused. Using the quote unquote gene scissors.
I think I fell asleep a little.
to target the mutated genes. And CRISPR is a technology, again, that has the potential to revolutionize gene editing. And it's been
So you mentioned, sorry to cut you off. You mentioned in that episode that somebody with sickle cell anemia was able to be cured from this.
CRISPR,
and she was, how old was she? Like,
she was 54 at the time of her cure, and that was in, I want to say 2019 or 2020. And so she has still, so I've read a follow-up article pretty recently, probably within the last 3 months, about her, and she is still never had any other episode. She's been declared sickle cell anemia free.
oh, good.
So yeah, so I'm excited about it. I think it's got a lot of great implications for the future if they can figure out how to use it. They're already doing a lot of it using it a lot for like studies with Alzheimer's, um, diabetes. I don't know if they'll ever. I was waiting for you to do it. You didn't.
Do you have diabetes? Call Liberty.
So I don't know if they'll be able to use it for cancer because cancer is kind of a different beast altogether. But I hope they would. I mean, I think it's great. In 2020, two women, Jennifer. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce their names right, so maybe I'll just say their first names. Jennifer and Emanuela were awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry for their contributions for the technology. So yay, CRISPR.
Good job, CRISPR. And it was part of your New York Times crossword puzzle one day.
That it was.
The week we did that episode.
Yep. With something else that was crazy.
See, I listen.
I can't remember.
I listen.
You do?
It was CRISPR and it was Mr. Roboto.
Oh, that's what it was. And the funny thing
that was the name of our show.
And the crazy thing is, Karen, I was telling Scaren when she was here about the whole manifesting.
Yeah.
And like, she was like, I don't really believe in that. But over the course of the week, man, we would talk about something all of a sudden all over the place. I'm like, girl, we manifested. She's like, oh, I believe in this now. So I've made a manifester out of her. So now whenever we want something, now it hasn't worked quite as well as it was supposed to. Neither one of us won that 1 point whatever billion dollar lottery. But every other thing, I'm like, girl, I need you to manifest for me. She's like, tell me what I need to say. So she's at the beach right now with her sister, and her other friend just left. And she was saying, for some reason, I feel like it works better if I manifest it over the ocean. So she'll say, okay, I'm going to manifest that when I go outside. So we just get a good laugh about it. But
I'm telling you, man, sometimes I just think something and boom, there it is.
It's crazy.
I'm pretty good at it. Just had another one the other day in business. I've talked about it before, but I'll just say a client's name and then boom, two days later, the next day they send a new job that maybe they haven't sent us something in a few weeks. So I just believe in that stuff. That's just what you put out comes back. A little bit of karma, a little bit of, put it out in the universe. So I just feel like, here's my question about that. Like if you're having a dream
Mm-hmm.
and you dream about somebody, like somebody's in the dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that person has a dream too. And like, I'm in the dream.
Good to know. I had a crazy dream. I had some very weird dreams last night.
I don't remember my dreams last night.
I remember them because they were so weird. Like I had this dream that I had some sort of bite or something on the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know where it came from, but like Val squeezed it and all of this stuff came out of my head. It was weird. But for whatever reason, Val and I were in the dream. We were sitting at one of the bars that I used to bartend.
Uh-huh.
And then some of my old, like the usuals, we just called them, they were there, all the time. They were in the dream. They're from Colleen. And it was so weird that they were there because I'm like, why would these people who I haven't thought about in forever, haven't seen in forever, haven't talked to in years, they were in it and Val was squeezing stuff out of the back of my head. So
well, we'll have to ask Val what her dream was last night. And then we'll
have to ask her. And then I'll have to do a dream journal and find out, not a dream journal, but a dream interpreter, whatever it's called, and be like, what does it mean when you squeeze something out of the back of your head?
It just means you probably had a thought about having to squeeze a pimple or something. I had one time when I was a kid. I had this thing. I don't know if you remember, but I had this thing on the back of my neck. I think it was a cyst. It's just huge. And I think I was 18 and I went to a scout camp and the scoutmaster that was with us, the leader.
Did he just lance it and cut it?
Dude, we were just down in like a little river, like we were in like a dirty river and he's like, I don't know what this is. And so he just squeezed it and hurt like the dickens, but man, like thick pus was coming out.
I wonder if it was like an ingrown hair.
I don't know. It was on the back. I mean, it was just nasty and it was big and he squeezed it all out. And then I got sick probably because
you were in a dirty
I was in a dirty river. Mm-hmm. So I spiked a fever and then I was fine. And then I think I went back when we came back home. Somebody was over, one of your friends, I remember. I think it was Reagan was over because she was like on a pharmacy school or was a pharmacist or something. And she was like, oh, you should, whatever. Anyways, it was disgusting. And he was like squeezing that stuff out. Ugh. So
that's a good friend, man.
Robert Pikarski. Gross. You know Robert Pikarski?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was in there just squeezing that thing till it was empty. And it was disgusting. Anyways.
And now that we've grossed everybody out and they've left.
That was your day. That's crazy. Well, Holly, your lease is up soon.
Yeah.
3 more months.
I sent an email to them last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. Told them I wasn't going to renew, and started looking online at places in Florida. and have come to the conclusion that I can't afford to live in Florida. Like I could afford it. Let me. I would be like eating ramen noodles every day. Like I might have to sell my car
Or a kidney.
or kidney. Yeah, I was talking to my girlfriend Erin down there, and she's like, "Well, I just read something that Florida has the highest rent right now in the nation," and I'm like, yeah." And so she's like, "Well, what about a roommate?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. Like, I am too old to be getting a roommate. I'm not going down that. No, not doing that. I don't care.
What if it
I
was
just
like
can't
a
imagine a
what if it was
roommate.
like an 80-year-old grandma?
No,
Okay.
no. I don't want to live with anybody. I've lived with people my whole
That's
life.
I just said 80-year-old grandma, and that's like mom. Sorry, mom.
Oh, you right.
But you 78, girl. She's like
And a grandma.
80-year-old grandma is like old school.
No, I
They
just
were
don't
just
want to. Yeah, I don't want to live with anybody. And I did like I did look on some Airbnbs down there and talk to, a lady who's renting a room. And we kind of went back and forth. But I mean, it's $1,500 for one room. I don't even have like my own kitchen. I don't have like a dedicated, I have a bathroom. I would get a bathroom and a bedroom, but I'd have to share a kitchen. Like, I'm just not, like, I feel like that's moving backwards. And so I was like, well, I could live in, like, I had told myself I could live in like one of those short term like motels or whatever. But when I really like thought
199 a
about
week.
it, yeah, like, all right, let's be honest, girl, you really couldn't live there. Because I was like, yeah, but if it's like near the beach, who cares?
Like a Motel 6, like
Right.
converted to a 199 a week.
Yeah, I was like convinced I could do it. But when I really like thought about it, there's just no way. I'm just too
Bougie,
bougie, I guess, like
according to
Ava
Ava.
likes to say. She says I'm bougie, and I will say in this case, like I tried to even look at like cheaper places. Like, okay, I'll just set instead of I'll just find one that's cheaper. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, there's no way I could live here. Like, there's just I couldn't do it. So I've now come to this conclusion that I'm thinking I might just have to get a place here
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'm definitely moving out from by the stadium. I'm not living there. And
That was going to be so cool, though. You were going to watch the
it
baseball
was.
games from your stadium seating, or
It would have been awesome if that would have actually come to fruition, and if they didn't leave the lights on until 2 a.m. and there wasn't 8 a.m. music going on or prayers. Like it, in my mind, it was a lot cooler than it was, and in theory, it was a lot cooler than it was in reality. So I'm kind of trying. I think I thought about like, hey, so I'll look at places. So that was like the last couple weekends. So then I started looking at places in Dallas because I thought, well, if I stay here, I'm living somewhere I want to live. So it's got to be like Dallas, Deep Ellum, downtown. But problem is, man, they're more expensive than where I'm at now, and they're smaller than where I'm at now. So now I'm back to, well, I guess I'm probably staying in like the Frisco Plano area where I'm at.
yeah, because you got to stay up here. I mean, you got all your nephews and nieces up this way,
I know, and then
and then you're going to be like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to move to Deep Ellum, and then you're going to be like, oh, it's so far away. I just can't drive all the way up there all the
I know,
time. And then
I
it's going to
know,
take you, 20 minutes to what normally would take 40 minutes because
true.
that's just how you are. But, I mean, there's some apartments that are coming in across the way from us.
Oh no,
There's
no,
some in
I'm not
downtown
living this far.
Prosper.
No, 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 no,
Come on,
no.
the downtown Prosper.
Definitely not happening. I did see a couple of places over across from the shops at Legacy. And there's one that I'm probably going to stop over and see if it's a scam or if it's real because I can't tell.
Like if the apartment's a scam?
Yeah, because it's on like the apartment lister, and I emailed Coldwell Banker because I was like, well, because it has all these different, like all of the different real estate places listed when they,
Right.
if they help for rentals, and then you just email them. And so I chose Coldwell Banker because I'm like, okay, I know that's an actual
Right.
company, So I hadn't heard back from them. So now I'm like, maybe this was a scam. So I'm going to stop over by the address and see, like, is there a for rent sign out there, and if there's a number or whatever. But it's probably around what I'm paying right now, but it does have a garage. But I also have a friend who lives kind of in that area, and he has a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and it's, I want to say like $1,300. So my other thought is, because right now I'm paying almost 27. So I'm thinking that if I got one for 1,300, that gives me $1,400. That's going to open up that I can include my student loan in that because that's come due in February, and then have that extra money. So I just have to get over the $1,300 a month apartment is a $1,300 a month apartment. It's different than a $2,700 a month apartment. So
Oh, maybe.
I have to really dig deep and see, can I do that?
Can you live there?
It's not bad. It's just very basic.
Here's the question: is water and electricity included? Because that's how it always was in Killeen. Like seven
No, but
fifty and water and electricity
I
included, or
know that was the best deal.
325 if you were downtown Killeen.
Yeah. And actually, I only paid 300 for that place on Hall behind the post office in downtown Glee. And I
Yes,
want to say that had
water and electricity
water.
included.
I don't know if electricity was included, but water was included. I do remember that. I drove by that place the other day with mom and dad, and I was like, I can't believe it's still there. It's still renting.
Oh yeah. So what are they gonna do?
Ugh,
Tear it down? Right? Moneymaker.
that's true. It's true. I wonder how much rent is there now, though. I mean, that was a small place. And that's the thing. Like, I like to have a little bit of space. And I keep going back and forth. The other thing is, I go back and forth, like, do I want a one or a two bedroom? Because it's nice to have a two bedroom. Like, Karen came and had a place to stay. She had her
Mm-hmm.
own room, her own bathroom. But that's my other dilemma is do I want to make sure that I have place for somebody if they come into town and visit, or like on the holidays when mom and dad are here and everybody else has people in town and they need a place to stay. I don't have to sleep on the couch for 2 weeks because they're in my bedroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
just a lot of stuff that I have to figure out.
Plus you got to keep you got to stay up here because you got to keep your status as the cool aunt.
I know. And then, I was thinking about this the other day about this cool aunt situation. I was with
Because,
Jared.
hold on, because I know all my kids think you're the cool aunt.
Do they really think I'm the cool aunt though? Or is it like,
I don't know. What were you going to say about Jared?
I don't know. I was with Jared the other day and we were going over to the grocery store and I was asking him if he'd ever listened to Juvenile, the rapper, because I had just watched do you ever, I know your answer already. I don't even know I'm going to ask this. So
You're going to
I
ask me
won't
if I
ask it.
watch something. I'm going to say no.
I was going to, yeah. So I'm going to take that back and say NPR has a series called Tiny Desk and they do concerts with people at their
Okay.
little desk. And so Juvenile did one recently and it's probably one of the best ones I've seen.
Is that why we named our last episode what we named it?
Yeah, because that was on there. And then because my booty was up in
Yes.
Karen's face while she was feeling. So anyway, so I was asking him, and he was like, "No, I don't think I've ever heard him." And I'm like, what? So I had it, playing loud. We were jamming. I was rapping along, and then I was like, "Does he think I'm cool right now, or am I like the 43-year-old washed out aunt listening to rap music with her 16-year-old nephew?" And
Aunt
then
Holly's old.
am I actually like
She's
a cool
dorky.
aunt? Or is it like they just tell me I'm the cool aunt, but they really think I'm a dork? Do they really genuinely think I'm cool? Like, you know what I mean? Not
Well-
just your kids, but like all of my nieces and nephews. Do they, I'm just curious.
Well, let me tell you this. They don't, whenever, okay, so Jared's teacher emailed and was like, hey, if he's in an entrepreneurship class. So his teacher emailed and said, hey, if you have experience being an entrepreneur, like we would love to have you come in and, share your experience and be a guest speaker and blah, blah, blah.
Emailed him?
No, emailed all the parents. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha.
All the parents of their kids, of her students. And so I responded, said, yeah, sure. I'd love to. No big deal. And Jared texts me like maybe the next day. And he's like, you're not coming. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, my teacher emailed and you are the only one that responded. You're not coming. And I'm like, why not, man? Are you ashamed of me or what? Like, I just totally like threw some stuff at him. He's like, well, all my buddies are in my class and it's just be embarrassing. I'm like, bro, do you think I'm like a dummy? Like I'm going to like your friends aren't going to think I'm cool. I mean, I'm going to go in there and tell them how cool my life is. And they'll be like, dude, I never see my dad. Like he's always working at his job because he makes, whatever. And he's like, fine. So then yesterday he's like, hey dad, when are you coming to do this? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I have to respond back in time. And he's like, I have her first period. I'm like, no, you don't. He's like, what? How do you know? Because he was trying to get me into going to first period instead of his class. So apparently I'm not cool enough. So,
Well, he didn't even want you to ref the other night when you had to ref his game.
Yeah, it's he did not, and I did ref his game.
And didn't he tell you though, no more refing?
He did, and I have another one. I have another one of
For
his
him?
games.
Does he know that?
Yep.
Oh,
I told him. He said no. I told him. He said no, and then, I said, well, they assigned it to me. I'll just go on the opposite side of your team. He's like, okay. And so last night we went to his game, and he's like, dude, all my friends on the football field are like, man, we need your dad out here. Where's your dad? See, I'm like, see, they all think I'm cool. And like his quarterback comes up to me. His quarterback came up to me. Like the quarterback I met, he's like a freshman. And I met him at Canes. We were there. I was there with Lexi to get some food. And he walked in and he was totally like, just looked like he came from a football game. He had eye black and everything on. And I said, hey, just came from a game. He's like, yeah. I said, which one? anyways, we got to talking. Well, it turns out Lexi knows him and didn't say like, "Oh, hey,
Mhm.
quarterback." You know what I mean? Like she just sat there like she didn't know the kid. I'm like, "Oh, wait, my daughter's a freshman. Do you guys know each other?" Like, yeah, we know each other. And oh, she used to give me the answers in class and blah blah blah. I'm like, Lexi, why did you say anything? Anyways, so I seem to see him every game. So I saw him last night. The kid, he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, fist bumps me and he's like, oh man, good to see you. I saw you last week at our game. When are you gonna ref again or whatever?" So all
You
his
should start telling
friends
you
think
should
I'm
start telling
cool.
all his football friends that, well, Jared says I can't ref at his games anymore.
Jared thinks I'm cool.
Turn it on him.
Not Jared.
Does he?
Jared's friends think I'm cool. Jared doesn't
That's what I'm
think I'm
saying.
cool. His friends do.
That's what I'm saying. So you should start telling all of his friends that whenever they say like, when are you going to ref again? You can be like, sorry, Jared says I'm not allowed to ref at your games anymore. Turn it on him. Then they'll all go on him, and then he'll be like, Dad, you have to come ref.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Well, according to
who
Jerry,
on
I'm
him?
not the cool aunt. I'm just the excommunicated aunt. That's what he told his
That
buddy.
are you the excommunicated aunt? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't, are you the cool aunt? It was, aren't you the excommunicated aunt?
I think they think you're a cool aunt. I don't think they think you're dorky. See, I'm the dorky one because I have to deal with all the kids and like actually run like a tight ship at the house and make sure things like I don't, but I should, and make sure
I know. I'm
things
just nodding like, okay, Dad.
make sure things are in order. And you just come in free spirit, show up when you want, bring some food, bring some snacks and some goodies and cereal and all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. And they're like, Aunt Holly's cool.
I know. I picked up Ava some 49er earrings.
Does she
I'm gonna
know?
get a pair for Lexi, but I don't feel like Lexi would wear them. She does. Because here
No.
was the thing. There was two pair, and I was like, I feel like she'd like the heart ones, but then I was like, she's super picky, so I'm gonna send this to Val. So this was last night, so I sent it over to Val. I'm like, hey, you think Ava would like these? She's like, I think she'd like the heart ones, but she's super picky. So then I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna ask Ava. So I sent Ava the picture. I said, hey, do you like any of these earrings? And she's like, I like the heart ones. So I was like, all right. And they were like, listen, they were like $3.99, $4.99 something. But I was buying a shirt from the place or a couple shirts, and I needed, I think, $5 more for free shipping. So I was like, oh, I'll just pick these up. So yeah, she'll get some little glitzy 49er earrings soon.
Good.
But yeah.
Well, good. Speaking of Lexi, and moving on from you being the cool aunt, because you're the cool aunt.
I'll take it
Um,
from my dorky cool brother. I guess I'm at least cool to you.
you drive a cool car. So I had misspoken the other day. You said Fantasia is your favorite show.
No. I said I love Fantasia. That never the words favorite show and Fantasia.
I mean, I love
it's,
it.
It's
Favorite,
probably in the
same
top 10.
Oh, geez.
It's in my top 10, not top 10 of all time, top 10 Disney movies. Let me throw that out there.
Okay.
Top 10 Disney classic cartoons, because I haven't seen anything really new. I think the last new one I watched was like Hercules.
Hercules. That was like 40 years ago.
Correct.
Okay.
When Colby was little. That was why I've seen that one.
Okay, so I turned on Fantasia the other day, and sure enough, Lexi's like, "What is this garbage?" I was like, "Lexi, I thought you'd like it. Like
Listen,
it has music, and it has a band, and it has
how long did she watch it?
cartoon." Dude, we couldn't watch it more than 5 minutes. Like we turn it on, and first of all, the guy walks up and he's in the shadows. And he's like, "This is revolutionary. We are making music."
All right.
from Walt Disney, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So we fast forward,
Okay, I was
We
about to say, you
fast
gotta
forward.
skip that whole part.
and all we watched was Mickey and the
Oh no.
and the magician.
See, no, you messed up. I'm going to take back the fact that Lexi doesn't like Fantasia. Lexi has not yet experienced Fantasia.
She didn't want to. Of course,
I don't.
she was there with her boyfriend too. So
Oh, well, she and I are going to watch it, and I bet
Okay.
she likes it. And
Good luck,
I
Lexi.
100% know that she's going to like.
and then it was
The
two
hippos
hours
and
and
the
6
tutus.
minutes. 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Listen, I like Fantasia,
And
but I don't
48
watch.
of it are that guy in the beginning speaking of what they're doing. Like,
Right.
We're gonna
And I
play
don't-
music.
But I don't also watch it straight through. I fast forward to the parts I don't like and get like, I watch the part with the hippos and the alligators, the Mickey part, and then I think there's a part with the Greek gods or whatever.
Yeah.
I watched that part. Those are probably the only three parts I watch. I don't know that I know that there's anything else of Fantasia. So I love the music aspects. I love those cartoons with the music. I think they're fun.
All right, let's
But I'm
put it
not
on a
gonna watch
poll.
it.
Let's put it on a poll. Is Fantasia a good movie?
It
Period.
is. If you
Yes
like music,
or
I
no?
think you're gonna have.
I think I'm gonna
Well,
win.
Dad doesn't like that one. I don't think so. Dad would say no. I would guess.
I think I'm gonna win. I think I'm gonna
That's
win.
because people give up on the we're making revolutionary stuff at Disney. Like, bro, this is 1947. It ain't revolutionary anymore. They just need to cut that part out. I haven't watched the remastered version of it.
It was
though.
a Fantasia 2000 or something.
Huh? Same
That's
cartoon?
it's called Fantasia 2000. It was on there. I don't know. I've never seen it.
I might have
After
to check it to
Fantasia,
see.
I was like, I'm never gonna watch another Fantasia.
I love the hippos and the alligators. I think it's hysterical. It's one of my favorite parts of the cartoon. Not my favorite cartoon.
Okay,
Probably in top 10 because I hated Pinocchio. Pinocchio's the last.
I like Pinocchio,
Pinocchio was weird. Have you
It
seen
is
it
weird.
recently?
especially where they take the
Like
kids
they
to
take the kids to the island.
the young
like,
boys
they
to
were
the
like
island.
trafficking back in the day. Like what is happening? It was kind of creepy when I watched that part. I didn't like that. I
Yeah.
think watching that kind of threw me off. Maybe on LSD. I feel like maybe if you watch that on LSD, it might be all right.
Fantasia probably
Fantasia would be amazing.
because it's just like in the beginning they
all
start.
of those sounds and the yeah
And the-
yeah. You got to fast forward that part, but that would be awesome. I bet. Note to self.
Okay, so Holly, we're gonna get to we've kept our people here long enough. Um, we're gonna move my first season of refereeing. We're gonna move that to our next episode. I think we could talk about that for a little bit and answer some of Alan's questions.
Okay.
With that, I think I'm going to talk about one thing. He did ask one question. So, Alan, I'm going to answer your question. One of your questions. He said, what's the hardest call to make? And I'm going to tell you guys the hardest call I had to make. And it has nothing to do with the call, it has to do with the situation. And the situation is I was refereeing at my son's game. They were short on refs. I was going to be at the game. I told them this is my son's game. They said, no problem. It's fine. I go ref at his game. He catches a ball over the middle, and it's my call to, I'm running the lines. It's my call to make. He catches the ball. He's making some moves, and they strip the ball from him. And the hardest call I had to make was that the other team recovered the fumble that my son fumbled.
Oh,
And
it was
Jared fumbled, and I had to point the other direction that it was a turnover. And
it
watch
was
him
heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. I was actually there at that game.
and then to watch him run off the field. And I'm like, and then his coach knew I was his dad. And so I was on their side. And so we kind of discussed it at a timeout. Like, that was a tough call. He's like, it was, and he understood, like, they didn't strip the ball, like just the way the kid had come up into him and it just popped the
Right.
ball out. But then second, almost, 2 minutes left in the game. I haven't really had to run much. It was pretty good, easygoing game. Kid intercepts the ball in the end zone, and the coach is like, get down. They were at the 15. So, and the team throws,
And-
the other team had the ball, not Jared's team.
Right. And the interception was like 3 yards into the end zone.
3 to 5 yards in the end zone.
Yeah.
The coach is saying, get down. I'm running towards the end zone to call a touchback. And kid
That
takes
kid
it
takes
out,
off running.
takes it out of the end zone. 3 yard line. He gets, in my mind, I'm thinking, what are you doing, dummy? Like, you're going to get tackled, right? So 3 yard line, he sheds a tackle and then takes off. And I have to keep up with him because now he's on my side. And I have to keep up with him and run like sprint. Now I'm 40, trying to keep up with a 16-year-old sprinting down the field 100 yards. And I got to go make the touchdown call. And I had to run 100 yards. And dude, I was like, this is ridiculous. So I told Jared the next day, I'm like, bro, tell 21, like, my hamstring still hurt because they made me run 100 yards sprint down the field. But there's a lot more refereeing stuff. There's a lot more refereeing talk. But yeah, I did want to bring those two up. Two of the toughest calls I had to make was, one, my son fumbling the ball and having to call it a turnover, and two, that touchdown call after running 100 yards. That was a tough one. But I know that's not the question he's asking. I know he's asking kind of a
Right.
little bit of a deeper question than that. But that's what I've got so far. So I wanted to just bring those two up. We'll talk about more reffing stuff moving it, into our next episode. But today we got to talk about, we're already quite a ways in. We got to talk about what's happening in our life. Holly.
All right. So this all started probably a couple months ago, maybe, when I was like, man, I'm just not feeling right. I'm feeling down, like not down, but like tired and worn out and blah, blah, blah. So I went in for blood tests, blood work, and came back. And my doctor's like, you have low testosterone. We're going to do this. We're going to get these pellets, blah, blah, blah. He's like, but, I wanted to go over some other stuff in your blood work that's concerning. And I said, okay. And he says, did you know that you have Hashimoto's? And I didn't know I had. So for those who don't know, I'll put it this way. So he said that, and I only know what Hashimoto's is because Heidi, our oldest sister, has Hashimoto's. And it is an autoimmune disease that deals with the thyroid, but it's not just like you take a thyroid medication and it's all better. I mean, that does help, but it's largely based on, from what I understood. So I
Doesn't it, because of the Hashimoto's, it attacks the
Correct.
autoimmune disease attacks your thyroid,
Attacks your immune system. So
like
it
your
attacks our thyroid. Right. So Hashimoto's is largely based on diet, which is not normally the case for other autoimmune disorders. We just happen to get stuck with the shitty one.
Mhm.
So it essentially breaks down whatever you're putting in your body that your thyroid, helps regulate or whatever. It reads it as toxins, and so it attacks the thyroid. And so you have these antibodies in that they find these out through these in-depth blood tests that he didn't even know he was looking for these antibodies. It was just um, he's doing this blood work, and they happen to come up super high. So they have like the regular range. Let me pull up here real quick.
For me,
I was just going to pull up the regular range for your your antibodies. There's two different ones that they test. The reference range is 0 to 115, and I was at 124. And then the other one was 0 to 35, and I was at 252. Whatever that means, I don't know, other than it was super high. That's determined. Those are the two ones that they use. Because even when you look at my regular thyroid test, that if my doctor was like, hey, let's just do a complete workup real quick, they don't do this in-depth stuff. They just do like, let's test your thyroid. My thyroid was actually in the range. It was a bit high, but it was still in the normal range. But based on the antibodies, that's where they determine Hashimoto's. And so he recommended that I read this book. And so of course, I dove right in because I'm like, well, how is this affecting my body? And it does affect your energy. It affects everything. And, one thing that, especially since probably about May, when I kind of started noticing this, every time I would eat, I would get sick. If I drank anything, I felt sick the next day. I was feeling really bloated, like all of these different things. And so when he told me that, it kind of made sense, but it also sucks because now I have to do this whole diet thing. But when I was diagnosed, I started reading that book, and I kind of was talking to you about it, and you were like, yeah, I'm going in for some blood work. And so what did your doctor say?
well, we are cut from the same cloth, and I did post it on social media when it happened, a little bit after. So if you are follow me, or if you're my friend on Facebook, you probably saw that. Um, but whatever the thyroglobulin antibodies,
Mm-hmm.
thyroglobulin,
Right.
mine should be less than or equal to 1 IU per milliliter, so
Mm-hmm.
less than or equal to 1.
Right.
And mine was 797.
Wow.
And my thyroid peroxidase antibodies are supposed to be less than 9 IU per milliliter,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 572. And so
Yeah.
she said, you have full blown Hashimoto, and put me on some medication. And then also, hey, you've got low testosterone, um, and you've got high cholesterol, which the Hashimoto's and the thyroid issues can, hypothyroidism, which is what the Hashimoto's, I believe,
Right.
caused, um, can cause high cholesterol. And then she said, also, you've got activity in your arteries, like whatever they look for to show that your arteries are clogged up. Basically, it was supposed to be 0, and I was at 177.
Well,
So
mom has high cholesterol, so
I know that.
that's genetic on that side. So you have that
It,
gene going for you.
yeah. So
Did she put you on a statin also?
we
Oh, okay.
just changed. It's just a thyroid. So I do have some testosterone stuff that I use.
Mm-hmm. And you're
Um,
doing the cream?
I use a cream because
Got it.
she said, "Do you want?" So she goes through. So the way my doctor is, she goes through one line at a time, and so we get to the testosterone. So she's like, "Okay, your thyroid stuff, we gotta get that under control. Diet, and then this medication." So then she gets to the testosterone. She's like, "Do you want to use a cream, or do you want to use like an injection? Like, are you okay to inject yourself?" I'm like, "I'm okay, with injections." And then she's like, "Okay." She said, "Okay, but we need to get to your cholesterol first. If you have any signs of heart disease or anything like that, I don't want to use the injection because I don't know if it's like quicker into your bloodstream, and it's not,
Right.
anyways." So at that moment, we were okay with injections. Well, then we get to my cholesterol, and the cholesterols are high, and my arteries are showing signs of whatever.
Blockage.
Yeah, some blockage. And so she shows me an artery, and she's like, "There's 6 levels. This is what a good one looks like, and then there's blood clot at the other end at 6." And she circles 5, and is like, "That's where you are.
Oh shit.
So you're taking time bomb. So you need to make some changes." And I'm like, just sitting there, like, and she said to me at one point, like, you look like you're in shock right now. I'm like, I mean, you're basically telling me I'm dead if I don't change. So I think anyway, so she's like, okay, so the injections are out for now. We'll use the cream. Okay, fine, no problem. Um, and so here I am with a bunch of, you know, different, I'm going to go 3 months of kind of the lifestyle change. For me, as soon as she told me that, I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with food
Right.
because I have something like for me, like I have a bigger reason. Like
Right.
in my life, I got 4 kids. Like I want to see them grow up. I've got wife and, I've got a lot of
Right.
stuff going on. And I'm like, I don't want to leave this life too soon. And so Val had talked about one time before, she talked about like a friend's heart and they called, it was called skinny fat, where like I'm not obese. I'm not like people don't look at me and say like, oh, that's a fat guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I have, she's like, oh, it sounds like you're skinny fat then. Like you are not, like you don't look obese, but your heart sure feels it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because all that junk you eat, candy and sodas.
So for me, you jumped in full on, your doctor said full on, like, hey, you know, specific diet,
Right.
autoimmune protocol, basically, is what I think you call
Right.
it. For me, um, and we're both this way: zero sugar, zero gluten, grain
Very.
free, and dairy free. And then I'm basically running like a paleo diet,
Right.
and you're full on like
I'm full on no nuts, no seeds, no,
tomatoes,
yeah, no nightshade, so I can't do tomatoes, no potatoes. I can do sweet potatoes, but no other potatoes. No peppers of any kind, which is hard because I love some peppers. But yeah, basically, I can have, so we can have, and you can have a couple extra things. You get to have the nuts because those are good for your heart healthy. And then you can do eggs just because you're following the paleo. And I am assuming that's why she put you on the paleo, other than typically from what I've read, and obviously I'm not an expert at all. I've been diagnosed with this for like a month, so from what I've read, people who start the autoimmune protocol diet can typically end up on something very similar to the paleo diet. So with the autoimmune protocol that I'm on, I do 30 to 90 days with only eating grass-fed beef, free-range poultry. I can do most seafoods. They tell you to stay away from like the fattier ones, like salmon. You don't want to eat too much salmon, too much tuna. Um, and then I can do pork with no pork has to be like no antibiotics or anything like that. So as free range as it can be, I guess. But and then I can do all vegetables excluding the nightshades, so no tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplant, and then no seeds and no spices from seeds, so no like coriander seed or anything like that, and then no nuts. So I've had to do like coconut milk, and it's unsweetened, and it's like coconut and water, and I love coconut. Don't love me some coconut milk. It's almost like sour.
yeah.
But the worst part is I can't do alcohol or coffee.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
that's
think
tough for
that's
you.
probably the hardest. Today's day 13 with no
And
coffee.
you've texted me almost every day, like I wish I had a cheat day,
Yep.
but you're doing good.
I haven't cheated. I thought about it. I'm not going to lie. I got rid of everything at my house when Karen left. She took everything I couldn't have. Whatever she couldn't take, I brought over here to you guys.
Not for me, but for my kids.
Not for you, but for the kids. And the one thing I didn't let her take is I bought this brand new vodka when she was here, and it was so good. And it's actually distilled here. The couple who does it, they're Ukrainian, and it's an amazing. I mean, they distill it 15 times. It's so good. It's high end. It's delicious. So that's sitting in my fridge tempting me. And I came close last night. Not close enough that I pulled a glass out or anything, but I thought about it a lot last night. Like, man, nobody would know. I could just go in and have one. But I'm very much the type that if I let myself slip once, it's easier for me to justify slipping again and again.
Yeah, that's why you don't buy the 5 pound gummy bears because you're like,
Yeah, that's
I'm only
why
going to
that's
eat
it.
4, and then you eat 4
Turns into
pounds.
4 pounds. Right. Exactly. So
And the other pound is the whites and the yellows you don't eat, and you bring
correct
over
that
to
I
our
don't eat.
house.
So yeah. So like I had a friend over the other night and he and I were hanging out and he was like, oh, let's, get a drink. And he knew I was starting the diet. So he knew I didn't have anything really. He didn't know that I couldn't have alcohol though, really. So I pull it out and I'm going to make him one or he's making, getting one. And he says, hey, are you going to have one? I said, no, I can't. And he was like, oh, well, I'm not going to have it in front of you. Like, no,
Yeah.
we're in this together. So he
The
like
nice
put it
guy.
back. Yeah, it was nice. So we just kind of sat there and I just kind of joked like, yeah, so I'm just really boring. Like, so I basically just do the meat, vegetables, A lot of fruit, which has been really difficult for me because I'm not
Hmm.
a huge fruit eater, and I love vegetables. I don't like raw vegetables. I want all my stuff cooked if I'm going to eat them. So I pretty much have like my diet right now because I can't have coffee. That's probably, I don't know which is harder, coffee or alcohol, but they're both very equally difficult, I would say. But I do like an apple or some fruit, pear, apple, something for breakfast. Lunch is typically a couple pieces of fruit and a beef bar, or
Make some
if I
stir
have
fry
like,
now.
yeah, if I have some leftover stuff. But I don't,
How about how about coconut aminos? It's like a soy sauce replacement. Look it up.
I don't know, I have to look it up. But I did pick up some coconut manna. I haven't tried it yet. I
I
brought
haven't
one
tried it either. I need to
for
look
you
up how to use it.
guys. Yeah, no, I know you can use it in baking, and they say it's good for baking. Like it's a healthy alternative, but it's still not like super healthy. Like don't get me wrong, it's not a health food, but they say like it's just coconut and the puree, and you can use it for different things. So I brought one over because they only shipped it in packs of two. So I was like, well, we'll see. I read somewhere that it's good on apples. That was why I wanted to try it because I really miss peanut butter and on my apples. I used to eat that every day. So
Well,
um,
maybe I'll try it with some apple.
yeah, so that's basically been kind of what I've been doing, and I will say like it pains me to like admit that I've not been sick one time in the last 13 days from eating.
It's been
Like
nice. And I've been feeling pretty good. So
I
for
feel great. And at first I was like, well, I don't know if that's because of the diet or because of, the testosterone supplements or whatever. But I'm guessing it's probably a little bit of both at this point. I've been on it for 13 days. I've not cheated once. I kind of cheated, I take it back, but not on purpose. When we went to Oktoberfest with mom and dad, she got me a little salad. So it was just like lettuce and some steak and chicken. And I thought she said, do you want garlic salt? So I was like, yeah, I'll take some. And she said, do you want garlic sauce? So she put some sauce on, but I took off as much as I could. I wasn't like pigging out on the sauce. I tried to take off the parts, and some of it I did eat, probably had some of that sauce, but I still didn't get sick.
yeah.
But it's been the first time, I don't know that I've ever gone this long being able to eat without feeling either like I have to go to the bathroom or I have to throw up or I just feel just sick. Like my stomach is just rolling and it hurts. So, but with
Well,
autoimmune, once I do that for the 30 to 90 days, depending how I feel, then I can start incorporating things back into my diet to see how does this affect. And so I'm really looking forward to dairy because then I can have coffee again because I can do caffeine after the initial phase of the elimination part.
well,
So
I went to the doctor September 25th. Today's October 20th. So
almost a
almost a
month for
month.
you.
Um, and I mean, I feel good. I didn't go into the doctor because I didn't actually feel good. I guess I didn't know maybe I didn't feel good
You
until
just felt like you always felt.
yeah, it's how I am.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, like my body's sore and tired all the time. Like last week, I refed I think every day last
Right.
week. I refed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Do you think you have more
Thursday,
energy?
Saturday. Um, I think I I don't know. So I like maybe about once or twice a week, I'd always want to take a nap. Like I just need
Right.
to lay down. And that happened to me the other day. Like I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and I just was tired. I was like, I just want to take a nap. Like I need to take a nap today. But that would be kind of a weekly thing. That's only happened really twice, and it was the third day of changing my diet. So I don't really count that
Yeah.
one because I think I was just so like my body was like third or fourth day, and my body's just
Right.
detoxing, and I have had no
Right.
sugar, I've had no caffeine, I've had nothing that I was normal like used to. So I think that that's what that was. Um, so it's just the other day, like I was just like I'm tired, you know. And
Yeah.
but I had refed like every day. I think it was Monday, maybe Tuesday, but it was
Yeah.
just like like I said, I ref Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, all day. So Monday, Tuesday, like those days, it's usually like two games, maybe one. But Saturday's like 8:30 in the morning until 5:30,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
That could have just been like you're
and
tired.
then right, and then Sunday was also mom and dad were in town, and everybody came over for dinner on Sunday, and it was just kind of like
Yeah.
I think I think by Tuesday I was like I'm done, like I can't.
See, and I think, when I first started it, and I started later than you did, I had intended on starting. And then, like we talked kind of last episode, Karen came into town and she's like, so we're not drinking or anything, eating anything good. And I was like, ah. So I actually started 2 weeks later than I intended to start. And the first couple days were really rough without coffee, like really rough, like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I cannot stay awake. I'm ready for bed. Now my body's kind of adjusting to it. I definitely miss coffee though, because I like it, not just because of it helps keep me awake. But I will say I do think that I've had some increased energy. I worked out a couple times this week. I had to go back in, no, or a couple times last week, I guess. I had to go back in. My back's been bothering me again, so I had to go back in and get some shots again in my back, and had bad tennis elbow in my left elbow, so they gave me some shots there. I still have a little bit of residual pain, so I'm guessing by Monday it should be pretty much good for a little bit. So I'll start working out again, but I'm sleeping better. Like I'm not getting sick. And I know like there are a lot of people like who have Hashimoto's and they take a pill and that's all they do for it. And that's fine. But for me, I'm not one of those people. I can't just know that this is what's going on and
Right.
I'm still tired and I feel like shit. And if I can just change my diet, and yeah, it's a sacrifice, believe me. I love going out at night. Like when Karen was here, we were out a lot, going out, and I love drinking. I love beer. Love beer. It's like one of my favorite things ever. Love a good old fashioned, and I haven't been able to have it. And it's been a sacrifice not to be able to have ice cream or just going to get some chips and salsa when I want. But I do feel better. But, and it's funny because like talking to like mom and dad, they're like, well, as long as you feel better, it's worth it. And I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I believe that, yes, I feel better, so it's worth it. I don't know if I'm there.
Yeah.
I feel like, hey, yes, I can see why I could feel my health has improved. My body feels better. Is it worth it? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like you got to do something.
Right.
Like you don't change, like you're dead.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So yeah, and I'm hoping, also like there comes a time, like I've talked to a couple friends and actually more and more people have, um, you know, Hashimoto's
Right.
than I know. And I was talking to a couple friends and one of them was like, hey, I mean, you get to like, he's like, I did 3 months of like vegan is what he did. And he's like, all my numbers, but I knew it wasn't sustainable. Like I knew I
Right.
couldn't do that. And he's like, and now like my cheat days are calculated. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I know when I can have something, or I know that if I do that, and this is the thing, like I just want to get my levels back to a point where
Right.
maybe I've reversed that heart disease, which is completely possible.
Right.
To where if I do have a Chick-fil-A sandwich, it's not like, I just remember Sean
In the
and
world.
he and I laughed about this. I called him the other day on the phone when he was a kid, and hopefully Sean doesn't mind me sharing this, but he had triglycerides were really high as a kid, and we'd go to McDonald's, and and he'd pull out the fries and he goes, my doctor said if I eat this French fry, I'm gonna die. Brian, he'd eat it, and it was just like his joke. He's like, I could die. My triglycerides are so high, I could die at any time, but I'm gonna eat my French fries.
Right.
And that was just kind of his mentality at that time. And so we laughed about that the other day. Like, I know I'm going to die, but I eat this French fry. But I know there's going to come a time where if I can get my levels to where they need to be, like eating that Chick-fil-A sandwich or eating whatever I like, eating a handful of Skittles,
Right.
a bag of Skittles, or drinking a soda, that's not going to kill you. But hopefully I can get to the point where I'm able to get that, not only those levels under control, but those cravings under control as well, to where I don't want to go every day and get
Right.
a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Whereas right now, like I could go eat Chick-fil-A every day or McDonald's,
Right.
anywhere. And that's the problem. That's how I got myself here.
Right.
And so for me, it's not even necessarily, hey, I'm trying to lose weight. Like I look at the scale and, I'm actually down 10 pounds in those 25 days. But I haven't run. So a couple years ago, we had a wedding to go to. And so a month before the wedding, it was like 30 days. We're going to do whole 30 and I'm going to run every day and go to the gym. And so I ran and went to the gym, and I was like probably 205 and I dropped to 188 when we left. So I think incorporating the run into
Right.
my daily would be good. But there's a lot of days though. I get those 30,000 steps. I get 30,000 steps on a Saturday, every
Right.
Saturday. So anyways, that's like, if I was trying to really slim down quick, I think because I would run 4 or 5 miles every day,
Right.
5 days a week. I'd run 4 or 5 miles. And that really, I know that you row and that's going to give you similar
Right.
results. But I think if I just woke up at 7:30, went running, and then,
Right.
went to the gym after, and with the way I'm eating, I think it would lose fast. And that's kind of my, like,
Same.
I just look at this, like I got 3 months to see where my blood is in 3 months. And hopefully there's no way you can't make improvement. Right.
Right.
But hopefully some of those levels are where they need to be. And if it's another 3 months, it's another 3 months, but I have something to live for at this point,
Right.
I kind of want to see my grandkids,
Yeah, in the book that I'm reading, and it's broken down into phases based on like where you are within the diet. I think it's called the Hashimoto's protocol, and she talks about how she's gotten it under control. And the reason she wrote the book, and anyway, she was diagnosed in 2009. It's a doctor. She's a pharmacist. She was diagnosed in 2009. And she said, when I went to go do my research, there was hardly anything out there about it. And so she said, so a lot of what's in this book, she also does consulting now with Hashimoto's patients. And she said, so a lot of it is just stuff that I've seen that's worked with them and with me. And she's like, obviously take from this book, what you can do and what you can use. But she talks about how she knows like she's not going to be the one who goes to a work Christmas party and it's like, oh, I can't eat that or whatever. So she says, there's days that you're going to cheat and there's days that you're, and it's not even cheating, it's just she's on this diet where she does it pretty much year round. She's come to the fact that this is what she's going to do, which is like the diet that I'm on. And for me, and she's able now also to like have incorporated other foods in, but she's also like, I don't want to deprive myself of things that I love that I don't eat on a daily basis or normal. So if I go somewhere and they have it and I want it, I allow myself to have it. Now I know what my consequences are going to be.
Yeah, I may
I'm
feel
gonna be
bad
sick
later.
or right. I'm feel bad. So to me, and so one of the things that really was super hard when I was first diagnosed, I cried. It was like a really hard diagnosis for me because it's like I have to eat all of this and I can't have all this stuff. And it was hard, and I, like I said, I love beer, and that was a really hard thing. But I've read a few different things where it's like, hey, like you can still have it. I just may not be able to have it as much as I want it. And so for me, that's what I have to kind of reckon with is that, hey, yeah, I can still have alcohol. It's just not going to be 3 or 4 times a week. It may be once a week that I allow myself to have it on a Saturday night because then I have all day Sunday to recover, or Friday night because then I have Saturday. But one thing that I've noticed, I'm down 5 pounds in the 13 days, and that's only been with maybe 4 days of exercise in there, just based on, my back situation. But I'm not nearly as bloated. Like, I just felt like I was constant. I would just like, I could like joke that I could look at the mirror and see that I had gained weight, from the day before, and it was just bloat. And now I'm like, even though it's only 5 pounds, it's significant in the way that my clothes are fitting because I'm not bloated like I was. And my fingers aren't swollen. I would notice sometimes like I would eat certain foods or drink certain foods. I'm like, dang, I can't even like get my ring off right now because it would swell up. And I've noticed like I haven't had any issues with that over the 13 days. So overall, I feel better. It's definitely not something that I would have liked to have been diagnosed with ever.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to stay positive in it. It was very hard for me to stay positive. Like the first week of it, I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. This is too hard. And, Elizabeth's like, hey, you've done harder things. Like, this is nothing. You've got this.
Yeah, you ate Marmite. You can eat some vegetables.
Right. So it's been a rough 13 days. And I will say, like, I remember you saying like the first 3, 4, 5 days was really hard. And now it's not nearly as hard as it was. I still want things, but I don't.
Oh, believe me.
The first like 5 days, I craved everything. Like, I want this stuff I didn't even like. I wanted to eat it just because I couldn't eat it, But, and last night was the first time that I really was like, or maybe it was a couple nights ago when I texted you, I was like, I really want a bowl of cold cereal with some milk. Like, I lived on cold cereal before this, and it's like, man, I'd kill for some of that. And last night it was like, I'd kill for a drink right now, but I just soldiered through. And
yeah, it's tough, especially like, when our kids, like last night, Jared's heating up he got a, Chick-fil-A sandwich before his football game, and he didn't eat it. He came home, and because they were a home game, he could come home after school, and then he had to go back. And so he brought his food with him, and he hadn't eaten it. So anyways, he heated up his Chick-fil-A sandwich last night, and Lexi heated up some wontons for dinner. And I just, man, like they had pizza the other day, and
I know. It's like when mom and dad were here and they want to go to Chick-fil-A, and I'm like,
and they went.
It's torture.
And
you were going to go, and I was
going to go. I was going to go.
And I was like, I can't go there because I can't have the salad dressing. And then I'm going to sit there and smell the fries, which I love their fries and I love their chicken and all of this stuff I can't have. So I just choose not to put myself in situations like that.
I've had a few situations, for an activity at church with the youth. We went and it was a Sunday bar. So they had Sundays, and that was the day that I talked to Jed, and then Jed that night, like I had left the room, and they were doing their deal. I left the room and was just talking to Jed and a couple guys, and that's the night he's like, dude, I'll started sending me stuff, And then last night, or not last night, but 2 nights ago, Wednesday night, we all met up at the church in the parking lot, and they had those solo stoves. Have you seen the solo
Mm-hmm.
stoves? They had a couple of them brought, a couple of leaders brought, the bonfire size, and they
Right.
made s'mores. And I'm like, but it didn't like, I wasn't bothered by it. Like I was just
Right.
there. I knew I couldn't have it, so I just didn't eat it. And I wasn't
Right.
bothered. I just was like, yeah, no big deal. And
Right.
I just, and one of the other leaders is another guy who has Hashimoto's, basically the same diagnosis that I had. And
Mm-hmm.
he went in because he went to the doctor because he's like, I'm losing my hair. And they
Yeah.
did tests, and that's how they found out. He found out a couple things. Um, but he and I were there, and he's like, I just, I can't eat it, so I just don't. And I never knew. I didn't know that till I just started talking with him. So, but there are
Right.
times, when they went to Chick-fil-A with the kids, and you and I went to Kroger, and you know, picked up food
Food and
to
cooked.
cook. You know,
I think that's also been the hardest
that's the
thing for
hardest
me.
thing is to cook my breakfast and my
The
lunch every
hardest thing
day.
for me is cooking every day. I just got so used to not having to worry about cooking. And now it's like I have to plan my meals in advance. Like, what am I going to eat today? Because I can't just go in and grab a bowl of cold cereal or, and I have to be careful because I just am like, well, I have fruit, I'll eat that. But fruit has a lot of natural sugar. And so they're like, you should really be careful with the amount of fruit you're eating because even though it's natural sugar, it's still sugar. And so you don't want to go overboard on it. So I have to really kind of limit myself. So I usually do, if I eat like a big lunch, if I'm really hungry, then I'll do like my dinner quote at lunch. And then for my dinner, I just have fruit because I'm also on Adderall, which suppresses my appetite. So I can't eat on a normal day, even before all of this, I couldn't eat 3 meals a day, even if I wanted to. So it's just really, it sucks because I have to cook every day and I have to plan. And let me tell you, healthy eating is so freaking expensive.
Oh yeah, it
In the
is.
13 days, I've spent almost $400 on food. And that
That's
doesn't even include the steaks that I buy normally.
that's why America is the way it is because
Correct.
you can still go get a
So,
99-cent
yeah,
cheeseburger,
so
and
much cheaper.
it,
And,
it,
I'm
and
buying
that's
this
what we
free.
feed our kids. And so now it's
Yeah.
even like made me think about like what I feed the kids. And you know, there's literally kids in America right now that are living on chicken nuggets and French fries, and they
Oh,
have that every day, every meal
I
because
have
that's all
friends
they'll
who
eat.
that's what their kids eat. Yeah, that's it. And I just
It's
think that's setting them
killing
up too.
America,
Yeah.
killing us.
I mean, it's delicious. It's a good way to go out if you got to go out, but
You only live once, right? Well, I guess you
true,
only die once. You live every day. You only die once.
true, true. But yeah, so it's been interesting trying to, when I look at the chicken and I'm like, does it really matter if it's free range versus not? Because this is 3 times the cost of that chicken and for substantially less chicken. But
Yeah, so I know I'm supposed to do that. That is one thing that I don't do. I don't necessarily do the grass fed or the free range. Um, I'm just gonna see. I'm gonna go in 3 months and see where we're at. And if it's like what's killing you is your grass fed, you're ungrass fed beef, then I'll be
yeah,
like, okay. Because I'm
well, the
like,
reason they say that is
I've lived 40 years already, so I'm doing better than I was. I'm not, this isn't my attitude, like I'm doing better than I was, but it's like, okay, let me do better than I have been doing. And then if I still need to tweak further, then I will. You know what I mean?
well, and the reason that they say that is because of the grains that they feed
Right.
them. That that grain is actually worse for Hashimoto's than gluten. Grain is the worst thing that somebody with Hashimoto's can have. So they talk about like, hey, get used to not having grain in your life consistently. But I think it was like 13% of people with Hashimoto's can actually have gluten. There's no side effects. But that doesn't leave, with my luck, I'm not going to be in that 13%.
And
Um,
what's crazy is I'm on this thing and I never, like I just said it earlier, but I never felt sick. Like you would
right,
always say, like your stomach would rumble and you would feel
right,
sick and you feel like, I got it, but I'm like, did I sometimes have to like, did I eat and then like, dude, I gotta go to the bathroom? Like,
right.
yes. But to me, that was
Normal.
life. That was life. That was,
That
hey,
was
we
normal.
got,
That's how it's always been in my life.
but I was never like sick from food. Like I would eat
Yeah. Well,
garbage and
I
I'm like,
wasn't.
I feel
That was
great.
only recently. I only started really getting sick, like starting in May timeframe when I first started talking to you about it. That's when I really noticed, like, hey, I'm getting this, and I'm actually feeling sick to my stomach that I ate this, or I feel sick. And that wasn't the case before. I would be like, hey, I ate ice cream. We know what's going to happen now because I can't have lactose. But really feeling like sick and like it's affecting my day to day life, that was probably started just in May. And so, I am feeling better. I will probably stick to some form of this diet, knowing myself for the rest of my life. it's not going to be as strict. Like, I can't wait to start incorporating back in. Like, I really want dairy, so I can't wait. That's my biggest thing. And one thing that I read about Hashimoto's in that book I'm reading is that a lot of times people think they're lactose intolerant, but they're not. They're gluten intolerant. But because they've never cut it out of their life, dairy is a secondary allergen, basically. But it's responding to the gluten in your body. That's why people feel sick. So I'm having hope that I'm not actually lactose intolerant, that I'm really gluten intolerant. I'd rather be gluten intolerant all day long than lactose intolerant. So that's going to be the first thing I'm going to incorporate back in will be dairy. And then, I'll probably try some gluten and stuff, but I don't know. I just feel like it's just going to be, this isn't just like, hey, I'm doing this for the 30 to 90 days. For me, this has to be a lifestyle change because I feel so much better just in these 13 days than I have felt in years.
Yeah.
So
it's good. Well, Holly, let's go ahead and wrap up. What I'd like to hear from our listeners, if you've dealt with that, like, hit us up, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear, even have you on the show and talk about your experience with it, whether it's Hashimoto's or anything that, autoimmune disease. I know that I know a couple of people that have had some of those things. So I would love to hear about it, things that you've done, or whatever's been helpful to you. And you can find us at Pritch and Moan on all our socials, Facebook, Instagram, all of them. Shoot us a message, comment on something, whatever. We'll get back to you. But that's
also email.
Oh yeah. pritchesgetstitches@gmail.com. So you can email us there as well. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys and what you've done and how your life has changed because of, changes you've made, what's, changed for the better, or maybe it's changed for the worse. I've known a few people that had Hashimoto's go into remission. So that's my hope. But anyways, guys, thanks for being in with us. I'm sure we're going to talk more about this topic in the future and our future episodes as we kind of go through this journey together. And Holly, next time I look forward to talking about some of the reffing experiences I've had and some of the things, some of these questions that have been asked me. So next time we'll talk a little more about that as well. But definitely thanks everyone for being here. And we look forward to talking with you next time.
See ya.
Hey, what's up, my channel? Please hit the drop a like and hit the subscribe button. Looking for my first subscriber. Can't subscribe myself. Can't do that for some reason. I don't know why. Wish you could.